Thank you to the moderator. For today, I'm going to share with you about dealing with chronic misbehavior. Let's check it out. You might wonder, what is chronic misbehavior, right? According to Study.co and Button 2017, students who continue to interrupt the learning process, challenge the teacher, and sometimes attempt to inspire others to behave poorly are considered chronic misbehavior. Usually, the students only want to see their teachers respond towards their misbehavior or doesn't care about their teacher at all. So here, I'm going to share with you 2 strategies for dealing with chronic misbehavior. Firstly, problem-solving approach. This approach views inappropriate behavior as a conflict to resolve through discussion and negotiation. Secondly, behavioral learning approach. This approach examines self-management approach, then turn to positive behavioral supports to replace inappropriate behavior with new behaviors that serve the same purpose for the student. Let's take a look at the first strategy, a problem-solving approach. Most teachers think in terms of winning and losing when they think about classroom conflicts. Referring to Gordon 2003, when conflict arise, most teachers try to resolve them so that they win or at least don't lose, meaning students end up losing or at least not winning. For example, let's watch a situation.
Kara, buku mana?
Ada cikgu. Saya memang dah siapkan dah, cuma
Yelah, kalau siap letaklah atas meja. Ada ke tak? Saya cukup pantang tau kalau orang tipu macam ni. Tak buat kerja kata buat kerja. Awak datang sekolah ni untuk apa, Kara? Ha? Nak belajar ke main-main? Sebagai denda, Kara, dengar sini. Awak berdiri kat luar tu sampai habis waktu saya mengajar. Faham?
In your opinion, it is okay if the teacher scolds the students and asks the students to leave the class? Does the problem solve? Please share your thought at the Telegram group, okay? Aha! In 2003, Gordon mentioned the third alternative, which is a no-lose problem-solving method of conflict resolution. This method consists of 6 steps. In step 1, the teacher and the student or students define the problem. In step 2, everyone brainstorm possible solutions. In step 3, evaluate the solution. For example, we take a look at all the proposed solutions and decide which we like and which we don't like. Remember this, state our own opinions and preference is important. Don't permit a solution to stand if it isn't acceptable to you. For instance, Hazlia suggests paying 50 ringgit if a person doesn't complete the homework given by the teacher. Do you think 50 ringgit is too much for you? If it is, tell them. Never let yourself crying over spilled milk. In step 4, the teacher together with students involved decide on the solution that you will try. If more than one student involved, it is tempting to vote on the solution, but that's probably not a good idea. Voting always produces winners and losers, unless the vote is unanimous. So, why not the voting session held by closing their eyes? So, no one will know who wins and who loses, right? Once you have decided a solution, move to step 5 to determine how to implement the decision. For example, who want to do this and when to do this? Finally, in step 6, evaluate the solution. In this step, we need to make sure that everyone is satisfied with the solution. For further understanding, you might need an example, right? So, I'm suggesting to all of you to refer to our textbook, page 316. Let's see the second strategy, a behavioral learning approach. This approach emphasizes external events as the cause of changes in behavior. Applied behavior analysis involves the application of behavioral learning principles to change behavior and the systematic use of reinforcement to strengthen desired behavior. The goal of self-management is to help students learn to regulate their behavior. Let's watch the video about behaviorism for better understanding.
I can't get my students to behave properly.
Why don't you use behaviorism to help shape appropriate student behavior?
What's behaviorism?
Behaviorism is a learning theory based on the idea that behavior can be controlled or modified based on the antecedents and consequences of a behavior.
Huh?
For example, in the classroom, a behavior will only occur if given the right environment or antecedent. The behavior is more or less likely to reoccur based on the reinforcements or consequences that follow, such as rewards and punishments.
What?
You've probably seen behaviorism at work and didn't even know it. Behaviorism is often used for shaping classroom behavior and helping students learn basic facts and skills. These are all examples of behaviorism at work in the classroom.
Okay, for your information, this behavioral approach involves the student in self-management, includes self-monitoring, self-evaluations, self-instruction, and contingency contracting. Before we proceed, are you guys still okay? If you are not, please stand up. Stand up, everyone. Take a deep breath. Okay, let's proceed. Firstly, I'm going to share with you about self-monitoring. The clue for self-monitoring is, what am I doing? For self-monitoring, the students will identify the behaviors targeted for change. Then, the students will learn how to observe and record their behavior. So, actually, there are two ways to record their behavior. First, individuals tally each time they engage in targeted behavior. And secondly, individuals observe and record targeted behavior at regular intervals. Because sometimes students are not aware that they are doing inappropriate behavior. So, this self-monitoring helps students to comply with teachers' requests and stay focused during teaching and learning session. So here is the example of a form that teacher can give to students for them to monitor themselves. According to the researcher, the use of self-monitoring was effective in increasing students' on-task behaviors and academic performance and decreasing disruptive behaviors. Secondly, self-evaluation. The clue is the student can ask themselves, what should I be doing? So, self-evaluation requires individuals to judge the quality and acceptability of their behavior. The convenient formats to structure the collection of self-evaluation data and to record the resulting behavioral data are rating scale and checklist. As you can see, here is an example of the student's self-evaluation. By filling this form makes the students realize what they should do during teaching and learning session. For more understanding, you can refer to textbook page 319. There is a story about Fred and his friend Daniel, who was in danger of failing the course. Do you want to know what happened to Daniel? Don't forget to read the story, okay? The third self-management approach is self-instruction, which students learn to give themselves silent direction about how to behave. Most self-instruction strategies are based on 5-step process of cognitive behavior modification. Before we proceed, do you know what cognitive behavioral modification is? For those who know, good. For those who don't know, let me tell you. The cognitive behavioral modification is a style of therapy that focuses on modifying behaviors by recognizing destructive behavior and seeking ways to modify those behaviors, such as talk therapy. Done with that, let me tell you the 5-step process of cognitive behavior modification. Firstly, an adult performs a task while talking aloud about it. Secondly, the students perform the task while the adult talks aloud. Thirdly, the student perform the task while talking aloud to self. Fourth, the student perform the task while whispering. And lastly, the student perform the task while thinking the direction. Actually, there is an evidence that even seriously emotionally disturbed adolescents can learn to engage with self-instruction. So, if you can refer to the textbook page 320, it tells a story about 3 teenage males who displayed high rates of off-task and inappropriate behaviors were given formal instruction in social skills and self-management for 1 hour a day. So, the results of the study demonstrate that training in self-management can dramatically improve students' behavior. So here is contingency contracting. It is an agreement between teacher and students. The student agrees to a set of behaviors and is offered a reward if the behaviors are displayed. So both parties must agree on the behaviors students are to exhibit, the period involved, and the reward that will result. The agreement is designed to encourage the student to make a commitment and change the pattern of behavior, thus reaping the logical consequence. As you can see, here is an example of a contract between social studies teacher and his student Justin Mayer. Okay, if the picture of the agreement is not clear, don't worry, you can refer to the textbook page 321. Okay, I've done sharing about self-management approach. So now let's focus on positive behavioral interventions and supports and functional behavioral assessment. PBIS emphasizes research-based, positive and preventive strategies to enhance the behavior of all students. PBIS is based on the premise that most students will succeed when a positive school culture is promoted, informative corrective feedback is provided, academic success is maximized, and the use of pro-social skills is recognized and reinforced. For your information, PBIS calls for a 3-tiered approach. At the primary or universal level, a set of behavioral expectation is taught to all students, modeled and consistently reinforced. At the secondary or group level, students whose behaviors are not responsive to the primary tier strategies receive more structured interventions practice, more frequent behavioral feedback, and more active support and monitoring. Finally, the tertiary or individual level provides intensive specialized supports for students with frequent and severe behavior problems. At this level, information about the student's behavior is gathered to understand why the problem behavior is occurring and to strengthen more acceptable alternative behaviors. This process is known as functional behavior analysis. FBA is based on the behavioral principle that behavior occurs for one of two reasons. It either enables individuals to obtain something they desired, or it enables individuals to avoid something they find unpleasant. Meaning, behavior happens for a reason, although the individual might not be conscious of this. This principle begins by investigating why inappropriate behavior occurs. Then, the teacher able to come up with intervention to eliminate misbehavior and replace it with socially acceptable behavior. So, let's see the steps in FBA. First, it is necessary to describe the inappropriate behavior in precise, measurable, observable terms so that others could agree on the occurrence. For example, instead of saying Auni is aggressive, you need to say Auni cursed at other kids and throws his book on the floor when angry. In the second step, information is collected regarding the environmental events that occur before and after the student's behavior. In the third FBA step, hypotheses are developed about the purpose of the behavior.
For example, according to the result in step 2, it shows that Auni is disruptive only during writing workshop. She annoys the students sitting nearby by hiding their pens. When the teacher asks her to settle down, she tends to ignore it. So, the teacher tells her to take a seat in the back of the room and think about how students are supposed to behave during the workshop.
From the information, we can hypothesize that Auni's behavior enables her to avoid joins the workshop. The fourth step is to test the hypothesis you have developed by creating a behavior plan. This involves modifying some aspect of the environment and observing the effect. In Auni's case, because the writing task appears to be frustrating, the teacher might provide her additional support. Plus, the teacher might stop responding to inappropriate behavior and instead respond to appropriate behavior with smile and praise.
If monitoring shows the BIP is successful, then the FBA is finished. If the inappropriate behavior continues, you need to go back to the third step and develop some new hypotheses. Remember, however, that long-standing behavior does not change overnight. You might need to follow the plan for 2 or 3 weeks before deciding whether it is making a difference.
That's all about dealing with chronic misbehavior. I will now hand you over to Miss Hazlia, who will continue the discussion on dealing with thorny problems. Bye!
First of all, thank you, Ms. Moderator, for having me in this webinar, responding effectively to inappropriate behavior. Now, let's refocus on dealing with thorny problems. What is thorny? Based on Merriam-Webster, thorny is full of difficulty. Thorny problem is a problem that are too difficult to be handled. However, too difficult doesn't mean it is impossible. Now, let's redetermine what is thorny problem that always occur in the classroom. Alright, these are 5 examples of thorny problems in your classroom that might be happen in your classroom. The first one is defiance. The second one is cheating. The third is fail to do homework. The fourth one, inappropriate using electronic devices. And the last one, inappropriate behavior outside of the school. So, in order to explain how these problems occur, I have provided a video for you all to watch. Let's watch the video. This is surround. As you can see in this video, Sir Rans was teaching solar system in his class. Suddenly, he noticed that one boy that really annoying. This boy would not stay in his seat and he kept going to the back of the room. Sir Rans kept telling him to sit down, but he don't want to. So, if you are in Sir Rans' position, what will you do? We will discuss it later. So let's rewatch the second video. This is Slurkout. Slurkout was an invigilator in science paper examination. Suddenly, he noticed that one of his students was trying to cheat in the test. The student tried to copy his friend's answer. So, if you are in Slurkout position, what would you do? Let's watch the third video. As you can see in this video, this is Miss Nina. At the beginning of her class, she was very excited to teach blood group in her class. Suddenly, she noticed that one of her students was keep calling a friend in the phone. When Miss Nina tried to talk to the student was ignore her. So, if you are in Miss Nina's position, what will you do? So, now you understand. Now you can imagine what kind of problem that might happen in class. Now, let's focus on how to deal with these problems. It is impossible to generate a fixed recipe to deal with this problem. However, let's reflect on some ideas to deal with it. The first one, how to handle the defiance. First thing, when there are students that are really annoying in your class, please don't lose your control. Stay in control of yourself, even though your first inclination is to shout back, don't, and do. It can help to take a few deep breaths and use self-talk to yourself. For example, I can handle this situation. You talk to yourself. The second one is ask others to work on something else. So direct the rest of the class to work on something else, like everybody do the next problems. Everybody start reading to the next section. Like that. You ask others to work on something else. Then after that, you can go to the particular student. When you face the particular student, you can offer a choice to them. Give opportunity for the student to choose. You give a choice, either the student want to sit at their seat or the student want to go to the principal room. So give their choice. Give them choice. The next one is move the student away from their peers. Talk to the student in the area where you can have more privacy with them. This thing will eliminate the need for the student to worry about saving space. The next one is acknowledge the student feelings. Acknowledge the student feelings by saying to them, I can see that you are angry. Right now, can you focus on my class first, and we will talk about this after my class. See, you understand, you acknowledge the student feelings. The last one in the tips on handling the violence is avoid the power struggle. Never say that you are the boss. Never say that. Do not use assertions such as, I am the boss here and I'm telling you to do this, and this. Please, do not say that you are a boss in class. Okay? So let's move to the next tips. In increasing the likelihood of doing homework. So some students are failed to do their homework. So by review, collect and grade assignment, it will increasing the likelihood of doing homework. They will think that the homework are too important when you are always reviewing their homework, always collect, always grade their homework. And the next one, give homework quizzes. Homework quizzes give students a daily quiz with 1 or 2 problems. Just give like 1 or 2 problems in one particular homework, not too much homework in one time. So it will increasing their likelihood of doing homework. And the next one, require a product in additional to reading. Students just do not count reading as a homework. And nowadays, in the new norm, students like to watch a video, watch YouTube, like YouTube or TikTok. So you can give a homework to watch some video in YouTube or TikTok that related to your topic. So next one is provide in-school support. Sometimes students' homesick girlfriend could interfere with doing their homework. So by providing in-school support, such as a conducive place for them to do their homework, this kind of thing will increase the likelihood of doing homework. So let's move to the other one. So as for circle situation, how to deal with cheating behavior. First of all, talk privately. Please avoid creating a situation in which students could be publicly humiliated. So you must save your students' peace. The second one, present your reason for suspecting cheating. So when you suspect a student for cheating, you must present your evidence calmly and firmly. The next one, discuss the consequences of subsequent cheating. So you must alert the student to the consequences of the cheating. And express your concerns. Make it clear that you do not expect this type of behavior from your student. With this kind of concern, they will think that, oh, my teacher trusts me that I will not cheat. So by having this kind of feeling, the student might probably not cheat in any kind of assignment or task or examination. The last one is explain consequences. Like I mentioned before, we have a teacher have to explain the consequences that they will face according to the school policy. For example, if they cheat in their examination, what's the consequences that they will face? So we have to explain that one. The last one is dealing with electronic devices. So electronic devices, some schools they are allowed to bring electronic devices to the school. So if your school letter allow the student to bring electronic devices, the first thing before you start your class, you have to remind students to keep their phone silent during the class. Silent or shut down their phone during the class. And their phone must be stored in their backpack. Because, for example, if the phone are put on the table, the probability for them to look and on their phone is very high. So, store the phone. Ask them to store their phone in their backpack. Then, the backpack should be placed on the floor. Why? Because if the backpack is placed at the back of the student, at the back, so the student can easily take it from the back. Right? If the backpack placed on the floor and student try to take it, and you as a teacher, of course, will notice it. And the last one, while you are teaching in class, move around the class to spot any devices. There are some students are very creative, are very intelligent in this kind of thing. So they will do something to make sure that we did not notice that they are using devices in your class. So you have to move around to spot any devices that have been used. Now let's focus on when discipline violates student constitutional rights. There are three here. The First Amendment protects student freedom of expression unless it causes substantial disruption or interferes with the rights of others. The second one is Student Fourth Amendment right against search and seizure. The Fourth Amendment protects students from unreasonable search and seizure. However, school search are permitted if there are reasonable grounds for suspecting that student violate the law or school rules. School search are still permitted. The third one is Student Fourth Amendment right involve a form of timeout called seclusion timeout. So what is seclusion timeout? Okay, seclusion timeout is student is removed from the class environment and placed alone in a room designated for this purpose. So teachers, please be very cautious about being this seclusion timeout because it is very restrictive, controversial intervention that might also violate student Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable seizures. Warm dementors. Okay, that's all from me, and I will pass the floor to Miss Moderator. Thank you.